Let's talk about punishment. It's a huge part of how we keep society running, right? But have you ever stopped to ask why we actually do it? I mean, what's the real point? Let's dig in and break it all down.
On the surface, it seems pretty straightforward. Someone breaks the law, they get punished. Simple. But, once you start peeling back the layers, it gets complicated. The reasons we punish people say a ton about what we believe about justice, what it means to be human, and how we think society should work. And spoiler alert, those reasons don't always agree with each other.
So it turns out that over hundreds, even thousands of years, we've basically come up with 4 main answers to that question. Think of them as 4 different ways of looking at crime and justice. Each one makes a pretty compelling case for itself, but yeah, each one also has some major downsides.
All right, so here they are. We've got retribution, deterrence, rehabilitation, and societal protection. These 4 ideas are basically in a constant tug of war inside our legal system. So let's take a look at each one and see what they're all about.
Okay, let's start with the big one, the one that's been around forever, retribution. You know it, right? It's that gut feeling of an eye for an eye.
So the key thing to get about retribution is that it's not really about the future. It's all about the past. The idea is that when someone commits a crime, they've created this moral imbalance in the world. And punishment, that's how you settle the score. It's about restoring that balance, making things right again.
And this is where the sociologist Emil Durkheim comes in with a really interesting take. He saw punishment as more than just payback. For him, it was a kind of public ceremony. By punishing someone, society gets together and basically says, hey, this is what we believe in. These are our rules. It's a way to draw the line in the sand, and believe it or not, bring everyone else closer together.
Okay, but here's the pushback. This whole idea of a shared moral code gets a bit tricky. Critics, especially from a Marxist viewpoint like William Chambliss, would ask a simple question: whose morals are we talking about? They'd argue that the law isn't neutral. It's often written by the powerful to protect their own interests. So from that angle, retribution isn't about restoring some cosmic balance. It's about punishing people for breaking the rules of a system that was already stacked against them.
All right, so if retribution is all about looking backward, our next reason, deterrence, is all about looking forward. This one is all about prevention. It's about sending a clear message.
And the logic is pretty simple, right? Make the consequences of a crime so bad that nobody in their right mind would do it. And this works in 2 ways. There's specific deterrence, which is meant to scare the individual offender straight so they never do it again. And then there's general deterrence, which is about making an example out of that person to scare everyone else off. Now, this whole idea is built on something called rational choice theory. It basically assumes that we're all walking calculators. Before we do anything, we weigh the pros and cons. So the thinking goes, if you make the punishment severe enough, the con will always outweigh the pro of committing the crime. This is exactly where policies like 3 strikes laws come from. The whole point is to jack up the price of crime so high that it just doesn't make sense anymore.
It makes perfect sense on paper, doesn't it? It's like a math equation. Bigger punishment equals less crime. But does it actually work like that in the real world?
Well, to be honest, the results are kind of mixed. Study after study has shown that just making sentences longer or harsher doesn't automatically mean people will stop reoffending. That neat little equation we talked about, it turns out the link between how severe a punishment is and how much crime there is, it's just not as strong as the theory would have you believe.
And that brings us to the biggest problem with the whole idea. It assumes every criminal is a perfectly logical person, coolly weighing their options. But what about crimes of passion, or crimes driven by desperation, by poverty, by addiction? The theory just doesn't account for that. And there's another danger. Some argue that when you slap a harsh label on someone and punish them severely, you're not deterring them, you're actually pushing them deeper into that criminal world. Okay, so if just punishing people harder isn't the magic bullet, then what else is there? Well, that leads us right into our third reason, which actually isn't about punishment at all. It's about reform.
Yeah, so with rehabilitation, the goal completely changes. It's not about making someone suffer for what they did. It's about asking why they did it and then trying to fix that underlying problem. We're talking about things like therapy, getting an education, learning a trade, basically giving them the tools they need to get back on their feet and rejoin society. And here's the thing. We have some really good evidence that this stuff can actually work. Unlike just making sentences longer, well-run rehab programs, especially things like cognitive behavioral therapy, which helps people change how they think and react, have been shown again and again to seriously reduce the chances that someone will reoffend.
But rehabilitation gets attacked from both sides. You have one group of critics who say it's just being soft on crime, that it lets people off the hook without taking responsibility. And then you have another critique, often from a Marxist perspective, that says you're just putting a Band-Aid on a bigger wound. You're trying to fix the individual while totally ignoring the huge societal problems like poverty or inequality that probably pushed them into crime to begin with.
All right, which brings us to our fourth and final reason. And this one is maybe the most practical, the most no-nonsense of the bunch. Societal protection. It's really just about keeping people safe.
At the end of the day, this is about one thing: incapacitation. If someone is a threat to the public, the idea is to simply remove them from the equation. Usually that means prison. The main goal here isn't payback, it's not even necessarily to fix them, it's just containment, pure and simple.
And the philosopher Michel Foucault had this really powerful insight here. He pointed out that society shifted away from these big public spectacles of physical punishment, like executions, and moved towards something more subtle: prisons and constant surveillance. So today, protecting society isn't just about locking people up. It's about this whole system of watching, managing, and controlling people.
The rationale is easy to understand, of course. Public safety is priority number one. But critics warn that this focus has led to what they call a culture of control. Our default solution for so many problems has become mass incarceration, leading to huge prison populations and locking people out of society. And the really tough part? It's not even clear that it's the most effective way to actually make us safer.
So there you have it, 4 totally different ideas about why we punish. You've got retribution pulling one way, deterrence another, rehabilitation a third, and societal protection a fourth. Our entire justice system is basically this giant balancing act between them. So how does it all come together?
And this is where you can see the tension so clearly. Retribution is trying to restore a moral balance, but it might just be enforcing the rules of the powerful. Deterrence is trying to be logical and prevent crime, but it kind of forgets that people aren't always logical. Rehabilitation wants to help people change, but it gets called soft. And societal protection just wants to keep us safe, but that can lead us down the path of locking up huge numbers of people. Seriously, every time a judge makes a decision, they're juggling these 4 ideas.
So, I guess it all boils down to this one huge question. When we say justice, what do we actually mean? Are we trying to settle a score from the past? Are we just trying to protect ourselves right now, in the present? Or are we trying to invest in a better, safer future for everyone? There's no easy answer, and how a society decides to answer that question, well, that says everything about what justice really is.